also just want to again recognize and honor the sex worker community.
I want to thank the sex worker community.
Wow, 3 weeks ago it was a bunch of hoes, and now it's a community. Question is, if it's such an important liberal cause, why didn't you do it 10 years ago? Or 20? Or in 1975? Maybe I should be copying an attitude with you.
I also just want to again recognize and honor the sex worker community. I want to thank the sex worker community. Wow. 3 weeks ago was a bunch of hoes and now it's a community. Bill Maher just turned up the heat again. This time he's aiming his flamethrower at Hollywood, torching its obsession with woke jargon and self-righteous grandstanding. My question is, if it's such an important liberal cause, why didn't you do it 10 years ago or 20 or in 1975? Maybe I should be copying an attitude with you. On a blazing episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, the comedian didn't hold back, calling the movie industry a madhouse of maniacs, hell-bent on dismantling American culture in the name of progressivism. So, what fresh batch of buzzwords is Hollywood trying to force-feed us now? And how savage was Maher's takedown of this tone-deaf trend? Buckle up, we've got all the scorching clips and receipts right here. Let's dive in. You got to give me more than a week to get used to a new word or phrase or name for what we call something. We did this with homeless until it was unhoused. We did this with illegal alien until it was undocumented migrant. Ma kicked off his tirade by rattling off a list of words that have undergone a so-called woke makeover. All thanks to Hollywood's virtue-signaling elite. The funny thing, these words still mean the exact same thing. The only difference is they've been rebranded to appease a hypersensitive crowd desperate for moral points. It's linguistic theater. All flash, no substance. And while we could rattle off dozens more, we've got bigger fish to fry. So, without wasting another second, let's get to the real juice. Roll the clip. And now we're doing it with prostitute. I don't know if you saw the Academy Awards this year, but I'm just going to say it. Are having a moment. So, apparently the latest word to get a woke makeover is prostitute. Yep. Hollywood has suddenly developed a soft spot for prostitutes and is now ramming this linguistic rebrand down everyone's throat. It's no longer prostitute, it's sex worker, as if swapping labels somehow glamorizes the profession or erases its grim realities. It's not just a new term, it's a full-blown PR campaign. And you already know Ma isn't letting this performative nonsense slide. He's about to shred this charade with his signature blend of wit and fire. But before that, here are a few clips of Hollywood actors pandering to the prostitutes. I also just want to again recognize and honor the sex worker community. I want to thank the sex worker community. Yep, that's how fast the woke mob can rewrite the dictionary. No memo, no vote, no public debate. Just snap your fingers and poof, prostitute becomes sex worker. I honestly think it took them less than 3 weeks to make the switch. One day you're watching a movie about streetwalkers. The next day, you're being scolded for not calling them licensed intimacy consultants. It's absurd. These activists act like changing the label somehow changes the reality, as if wordplay can magically erase the dangers, exploitation, and harsh truths behind the world's oldest profession. But this is what happens when ideology trumps honesty. Luckily, Bill Maher is not afraid to torch the hypocrisy. And trust me, the roast is worth every second. Because it's kind of funny how it's only been a few weeks and I already know people who, if you use the word prostitute, they will glare at you like you forgot a reusable bag at Whole Foods. But, and that right there is the problem. The term streetwalkers is now considered problematic because it allegedly offends people who have willingly chosen that lifestyle. But here's the kicker. Instead of offering real solutions or support, the woke mob would rather play word games. It's all about appearances, not impact. They'd rather pat themselves on the back for being inclusive than address the harsh realities these individuals face. It's moral posturing dressed up as compassion. And Maher is about to rip that mask clean off. My question is, if it's such an important liberal cause, why didn't you do it 10 years ago or 20 or in 1975? Maybe I should be copying an attitude with you. Bill Maher poses a razor-sharp question, the kind that sets the stage for the verbal sledgehammer he's about to swing. Why didn't we have the term sex worker 10 or 15 years ago? Why now all of a sudden do we feel this urgent need to reinvent the language? What changed the profession or our fragile feelings? It's a setup. And Maher delivers the punchline with precision. His answer isn't just surprising. It's a brutal truth bomb that leaves the room dead silent. A few years ago, the New York Post ran a story about a paramedic who couldn't make ends meet and so started an OnlyFans to pay her bills and then got publicly shamed for it. And Congressman Ocasio-Cortez tweeted in her defense, "Sex work is work." Well, first of all, sex shouldn't be work at all. Trust AOC to be front and center of anything remotely woke. Her penchant for performative activism is absolutely off the charts. If there's a camera and a cause, you can bet she'll be there. #ready soundbite loaded. She was one of the earliest and loudest voices pushing for open borders, ignoring the real-world consequences in favor of trendy rhetoric. And now she's practically leading the charge in the crusade to criticize, diminish, and downright dislike America. Whether it's tearing into capitalism while selling overpriced merch or framing patriotism as oppression, AOC never misses an opportunity to play to her base. It's not about solutions, it's about optics. And while her followers eat it up, the rest of America is left wondering when substance will finally matter more than stunts. Moreover, saying sex work is work, it's kind of like saying slavery is work. Yeah, strictly speaking. But is that really the message we want to be sending? A few weeks ago, I did a new rule here where I mentioned all the actresses, 21 in all, who have been nominated for an Oscar and many of whom have won, for playing a sex worker. And tonight, I'd like to apologize to the other 20 who were nominated who I didn't even have time to put on the list. Really, I swear to God, there's 20 more hooker portrayers who were nominated and some other big star hooker portrayers who didn't even get a nomination. Please, would you take a moment to honor them all? Bill Maher completely blew the term sex worker out of the water in classic Maher fashion. Sharp, unfiltered, and brutally honest. He called it what many are too afraid to say. Prostitution in many ways is a form of modern slavery. Behind the glossy rebrand lies a grim reality. Most prostitutes aren't empowered entrepreneurs making free choices. They're victims. Victims of poverty, abuse, human trafficking, addiction, and broken systems. Many are coerced into the trade, manipulated by pimps, or trapped in cycles they can't escape. Repackaging this as sex work doesn't liberate them. It sanitizes their suffering and disguises exploitation as empowerment. When someone feels they have no other option but to sell their body to survive. That's not choice. That's bondage. Maher's point was clear. Changing the name doesn't change the game. And sugarcoating slavery with soft language only prolongs the problem. Which leads us to this question. Why? Why so many hookers, myths and dreams, but also movies? Tell us what's really going on in our minds. Why this? If half of all male stars in Hollywood had at one point played a porch pirate or a used car salesman or a three-card money dealer or a lobbyist, something really sketchy. Would we not wonder about that? What does it mean? Does it mean that we're still locked into the Madonna horror complex? Music, it would seem so since there's 1,000 movies about horrors and Madonna has never made a good one. Here Maher raises a sharp and thought-provoking observation. Why is it that women in Hollywood are so often portrayed in extremes either as untouchable saints or streetwalkers? Where's the nuance, the complexity, the reality? And why, he asks, does Hollywood seem obsessed with awarding actresses who play prostitutes or damaged women with an Oscar? Is it because these roles are seen as bold and edgy? Or is it something deeper, a reflection of how woke Hollywood truly sees women? Maybe, just maybe, the industry has always romanticized the struggle, glamorized the pain, and rewarded the portrayal of trauma over strength. It's not empowerment, it's exploitation in high heels and lipstick. Ma calls out the hypocrisy of an industry that claims to uplift women while continually putting them in boxes designed for shock value and virtue points. It's performative feminism at its finest and fakest. Now, Honora is a good one. It's a great movie. So is Sean Baker's other movie about a sex worker, Tangerine. And his other movie about a sex worker, Red Rocket, and his other movie about a sex worker, Starling. And his other movie about a sex worker, The Florida Project. Look, I think Sean is a huge talent, but he does think about horrors a lot. So, do you see the point I was making? There's a pattern, a disturbing one, where many male Hollywood directors seem utterly obsessed with stories centered around prostitution. It's as if they can't resist the temptation to romanticize and glamorize that world. Instead of portraying the raw, painful truth behind it, the trauma, the abuse, the desperation, they dress it up in glossy cinematography, sultry music, and award-beat performances. The result, a sanitized fantasy that distorts reality and feeds into outdated male fantasies under the guise of art. It's not about shedding light on injustice. It's about exploiting the pain for prestige and box office buzz. These films often do more to desensitize than to humanize. And the irony, the same directors preaching progressiveness are the ones profiting from the very exploit.